Scheduled governing board meeting of the Lake Havasu Unified School District on March 13th, 2025. Roll call.
Evelyn Kinsler.
Here.
Ms. Umar.
Here.
Matthew Houston.
Here.
David Burke.
Here. We will now have a moment of silent prayer and private reflection. Amen. Would you now please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. We want to thank all of you for being here tonight. We have some great celebrating of teachers tonight we are super excited about. First, I want to welcome our dignitaries and colleagues that are in the house, and if you would help me welcome them, we'd like to welcome this evening Lake Havasu City Mayor Cal Sheehy, Mojave County Supervisor Sonny Borelli, Lake Havasu City Councilwoman Nancy Campbell, and Lake Havasu City Councilman David Diaz. And I believe Vice Mayor Michelle Lynn is here, is on her way. Okay, awesome. Thank you all for being here this evening. As we get into tonight's meeting, we are so grateful that all of you are here. Later on in the meeting, we are going to have a call to the public. If you have signed up for the call to the public this evening, I'm going to ask that you would be respectful. If you choose to personally attack anyone, you will be asked to stop speaking, and then if you continue, you will be asked to leave this meeting. As we come together, we are going to respect one another. We can have a difference of opinions. That's the great thing about America. But we are a city of greatness. We are a great city, a great community, and we need to learn to have great respect for one another despite our differences. So we're going to ask you to show that tonight. We have students in this room that need to be able to see that we can come together as a community with differences and still respect one another. That's what they need to see from our generation. So we ask that we conduct ourselves that way tonight in this meeting. We are going to start out tonight with CTE, Early Childhood and Professional Development presentation. We are so thankful tonight to have a student from Ms. Hendry's class with us this evening, and we are going to ask Leah Vega to come at this time for her presentation.
So I'm gonna show the board to the board, then we'll turn it. We'll leave it out there. You can look at it when we're done. And I'll tell you, we were forgetting to prepare for a microphone, but she's gonna do amazing. You can't even see it.
Okay, hi, I'm Leah Vega. I'm a junior at Lake Havasu High School. I've been in the CDA class for 3 years now and Ed Pro for 1 year. I recently went to state with FCCLA and won gold with my partner. Today I'm talking about the classes and what they are and what they offer. So early childhood education is a class where you really get to learn a lot about like whether or not you like working with kids, kind of their development and everything you kind of need to know with that. It really helped me with getting out of my shell. I was really nervous freshman year, and since then I have become a lot better with like public speaking, which is why I'm here now, and I've done a lot more presentations, which I found to love. Ed Professions I've only been in this year, and I've gotten to go to schools and work with kids, and it's been really rewarding. I've been in FCCLA for 3 years now also. I didn't get to compete the first 2 years because I was too nervous to, but this year me and my partner put on an event, National Preschool Health and Fitness Day, where we had our preschoolers come, and we worked with a lot of like people in the community, and they came. It was a lot of fun. The preschoolers had fun, and we definitely learned a lot. We went to state last week and presented in front of a board where we 1 gold. I've definitely learned a lot from CDA. I learned a lot about like kids' brains and how they work. I've learned about different classroom types from EdPro. I'm in my CDA class with early childhood now, which once I graduate next year, I'll have it and it'll help with me working with kids in the future. That's.
Do you have any questions?
Do you have any questions?
Thank you.
Awesome. Very good.
Before we move this evening to item 2.2, I would like everyone here to help us welcome our new interim superintendent, Dr. Melissa Skinner. If you would.
Well, first, I want to thank the board, absolutely, just for giving me this amazing opportunity to be able to serve the scholars, the staff, the families, and community. So it's just an honor to be here, to be able to do that. I can't wait to learn more about the traditions of Lake Havasu, and then obviously get to know each and every one of you at a deeper level. It's important for me to build relationships, so I'm just so blessed and thankful to be here. Just going to serve and support any way I can, just to ensure positive student outcomes. So I'm just, again, truly blessed for this opportunity, and it's just been such a welcoming day, going around to campuses, seeing the kids, meeting some of the staff, administrators. So thank you. It was very, very, very nice. So very grateful to be here.
Thank you. All right, item 2.2, Human Resources Report. Ms. Bitterman.
A little shorter. All right. Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, and our community members, and all of tonight's honorees. At Lake Havasu Unified School District, we proudly acknowledge the exceptional contributions of our teachers and staff who work tirelessly each day to positively impact the lives of students in Lake Havasu City. To honor their dedication, we invited community members, parents, colleagues, and students to nominate individuals who they believe deserve special recognition. From these nominations, each school site selected its Teacher of the Year. A committee was then formed to conduct a blind review and scoring of the support staff, Rookie Teacher, and Teacher of the Year nominees. The results of that scoring process have brought us tonight's distinguished honorees that we will be celebrating. Before we proceed, however, I would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to our community partners who make this event possible. First, we would like to extend our thanks to our WAVE program. Tonight's reception was provided by our culinary students from Lake Havasu High School. Thank you, WAVE. And in addition to that, our Rookie Teacher of the Year, Support Staff of the Year, and District Teacher of the Year honorees will receive gift packages graciously donated by local businesses and organizations. Tonight's gifts were provided by the London Bridge Resort, Anderson Water Sports, Mudshark Brewery, Concierge Health, Magic Phalanges, Evie Aesthetics, Wild Coffee, Movies Havasu, Southwest Outfitters, the Lake Havasu Chamber of Commerce, K-12 Foundation, and various parent-teacher organizations. We will begin this evening's presentations by recognizing our Support Staff Member of the Year, Mr. Brian Jacobs from Lake Havasu High School. It is our privilege to recognize Mr. Brian Jacobs, the in-school suspension monitor at Lake Havasu High School, as our 2025 Support Staff of the Year. In his role, Mr. Jacobs works with students in a more reflective setting, helping them understand the behaviors and choices that led to the violations of the Student Code of Conduct. He emphasizes the importance of learning from mistakes, guiding students to become responsible citizens, and avoid setbacks that could affect their long-term success. Mr. Jacobs creates a structured, high expectations environment that supports students as they transition back to their regular classrooms. He has built strong, meaningful relationships with our at-risk students, becoming both a mentor and a role model to them. Going above and beyond, Mr. Jacobs reaches out to parents to strengthen the connection between home and school, providing crucial support both in and out of the classroom. His efforts have led to fewer students serving time in in-school suspension or after-school detention, and have motivated many of our students to improve academically. We deeply appreciate Mr. Jacobs' outstanding contributions and the positive impact he has on students who need it the most. Thank you, Mr. Jacobs, for your dedication and unwavering commitment to fostering growth and transformation in our students. Next, we will recognize our Rookie Teacher of the Year, Ms. Rowena Cesar from Smoke Trees Developmental Preschool. We are thrilled to announce Mrs. Rowena Cesar, a special education preschool teacher at Smoke Tree Elementary, as our 2025 Teacher of the Year. Ms. Cesar's teaching philosophy is grounded in the belief that every child is born with unique potential and qualities that can be nurtured and developed through thoughtful educational placement, guidance, and support. In her preschool classroom, she fosters a holistic approach to learning that prioritizes the development of physical and gross motor skills, social skills, emotional awareness, life skills, and cognitive growth. Students in Ms. Cesar's classroom are given a solid foundation in literacy and numeracy, while also being encouraged to build confidence, critical thinking, and resiliency as they navigate challenges. While Mrs. Cesar remains attentive to short-term goals and milestones, she keeps a clear focus on the big picture, preparing our students for a future of independence. Her ultimate aim is to equip her students with the skills and confidence they need to become contributing members of society. As they progress through their educational journey and beyond, we are deeply grateful for Ms. Cesar's commitment to fostering lifelong skills in our youngest learners, and thank you for the positive impact you had made on their early development. Going to turn a little. Next, we will recognize Miss Towns, a dedicated first grade teacher from Havasupai Elementary. Ms. Towns consistently goes above and beyond to foster a positive and supportive learning environment where students are empowered to tackle difficult tasks. She regularly spends her lunchtime with students, using this time to build relationships, celebrate achievements, and strengthen the classroom community. Her commitment to connecting with students extends beyond the classroom, ensuring every child feels valued and supported. Ms. Towns' classroom reverberates with an energy and excitement for learning that is felt by all who enter her room. In addition to her exemplary work as a teacher, Ms. Towns serves as Havasupai's STEM Club advisor, inspiring students to explore science, technology, engineering, and mathematics through engaging hands-on activities. Her enthusiasm for STEM fuels curiosity and problem-solving skills, setting students up for future academic success. In all her spare time, Ms. Towns is also pursuing her national board certification, reflecting her dedication to ongoing professional development and educational excellence. She continuously refines her teaching practices to provide the highest quality learning experiences for her students. A true champion for her students, Ms. Towns leads with passion, dedication, and a student-centered approach. Havasupai and LHUSD are fortunate to have her example and leadership in our schools. Next up, from Croc Country tonight, we will be recognizing Mr. Lee White. It is with great pride that we announce Mr. Lee White as Jamaica Elementary's 2025 Teacher of the Year. Mr. White has dedicated his career to educating students in LHUSD, having taught middle school social studies and more recently 5th grade. He has faithfully served our district for 24 years, often saying that he returns year after year, not for the recognition or the pay, but for the connections. Mr. White believes that while all educators strive to impart knowledge, the truly exceptional ones inspire students in ways that go beyond the classroom. Each year, he adapts his lessons to meet the unique needs of his students, tailoring them to build on strengths and address challenges. His approach is both intentional and flexible, always focused on students' needs. In his classroom, high expectations are paired with unwavering support. Mr. White's tough but fair approach holds students to high standards while offering the compassion and encouragement they need to succeed. We are deeply grateful for Mr. White's dedication to his students and the lasting impact he has made on their pursuit of excellence. His commitment to fostering growth and inspiring success makes him an invaluable member of our educational community. Congratulations, Mr. White. Now we will welcome our high school teacher of the year, Miss Teresa Espuro. Lake Havasu High School is proud to recognize Miss Teresa Espuro, Spanish teacher, as their teacher of the year. For Ms. Espuro, teaching is not just a profession, it is her passion. She strives to create a classroom environment built on trust and meaningful relationships, which encourages her students to take the risks necessary for learning a new language. In her classroom, students are empowered by a nurturing environment where she skillfully balances inclusivity, engagement, and efficiency. Mrs. Espuro goes above and beyond, continuously modifying her Spanish lessons to meet the individual needs of her students, ensuring they make progress and feel confident in tackling challenging concepts. Her impact is evident in the number of students who make a point to stop by her classroom to say hello before or after school or invite her to attend their extracurricular activities. Beyond her exceptional work in the classroom, Mrs. Espuro has been an invaluable member of the leadership team at Lake Havasu High School. She played a pivotal role in guiding the foreign language department through curriculum adoption and lesson design and implementation. We are truly grateful for Mrs. Espuro's vision, her expertise, and dedication, and we are very fortunate to have her as part of our leadership team and teaching our students at Lake Havasu High School. Our next honoree is from Nautilus Elementary, Miss Zoe Powers, special education teacher. Miss Powers believes that great teachers are always students themselves, continuously learning and growing alongside their students. She views teaching as a powerful tool that can transform lives and should only be pursued by those that are truly passionate about that calling. At the heart of her philosophy, she believes that every student has unique strengths, that every student can learn and make progress, and that every student deserves the chance to feel successful. Through patience, empathy, positivity, and dedication, Mrs. Powers strives to be an outstanding teacher and role model for her students. She takes great pride in using highly effective research-based practices, always tailored to meet the individual needs of her students. Whether working with special education students or others, she is constantly adapting her lessons and teaching strategies to meet the diverse needs of all, ensuring that everyone has the support they need to succeed. Collaboration is a cornerstone of Mrs. Powers' teaching philosophy. She believes that working closely with fellow teachers, paraprofessionals, administrators, community members, and most importantly, her students and their families is key to creating a supportive and effective learning environment. We are grateful to have Ms. Powers' expertise and compassion guiding our students at Nautilus. Next, it is our pleasure to recognize Ms. Sarah Luther, fourth grade teacher from Oro Grande Classical Academy. Ms. Luther believes every student deserves a safe, supportive environment where they feel comfortable being themselves and confident enough to take academic and social emotional risks. To create this atmosphere, she dedicates time to get to know each student individually and maintains strong communication with parents to align school and home goals. These relationships help build students' confidence to face challenges and grow. Ms. Luther encourages her students to set achievable goals and regularly checks in on their progress. She is a flexible and dedicated team member. Ms. Luther has played a vital role in transforming student lives through interventions, accommodations, and modifications. She approaches each challenge with a positive attitude, fully aware of the impact her actions have on her students. Ms. Luther holds herself to high standards and maintains a positive outlook, knowing her approach influences her students, their families, and the entire Oro Grande community. We are truly grateful for Ms. Luther's individualized and transformative approach to teaching, and we are proud to honor her as Oro Grande Classical Academy's Teacher of the Year. Next, we will honor Ms. Sarah Shaw, reading interventionist from Smoke Tree Elementary. Mrs. Shaw's teaching is guided by the belief that learning should be consistent, exciting, and safe while supporting the growth of the whole child. Calm and consistent in her interactions, she creates opportunities for her intervention students to reflect on their learning. Understanding that not all children naturally love math and reading, she designs lessons that are engaging and tailored to each student's interests. She celebrates their achievements, fostering a sense of pride in their progress, which fuels their motivation to achieve both in and out of school. In addition to her exceptional work with students, Mrs. Shaw is a valuable collaborator within the learning community at Smoke Tree. Mrs. Shaw is a willing partner to parents and assists parents in understanding their students' academic goals and needs. She also actively participates in grade-level meetings, sharing student achievement data to help design effective instruction and intervention strategies. Her leadership and teamwork have had a tremendous impact on the students who need her support the most. We are deeply appreciative of Mrs. Shaw's expertise, dedication, and positive influence she's having on Smoke Tree students. Thank you, Ms. Shaw. Starline Elementary is proud to name kindergarten teacher Mrs. Rachel Nutt as their 2025 Teacher of the Year. Mrs. Nutt has known since middle school that teaching was her calling. Inspired by the teachers who made learning fun and engaging during her own school years, she believes students learn best from those with whom they have strong rapport. Mrs. Nutt takes time to get to know each of her students, understanding their individual needs and strengths. She also fosters strong relationships with students' families, creating opportunities in the classroom to connect personally. Living in a small community, she enjoys seeing her students outside of school and building deeper connections with them and their families. As a kindergarten teacher, Ms. Nutt thrives on the challenge of bringing students with diverse backgrounds together, some never having been in a formal educational setting prior to her class. She skillfully creates multiple learning opportunities in various modalities to ensure each student's success. Beyond her classroom, Mrs. Nutt is frequently consulted by teachers and staff as a problem solver and sounding board, offering guidance across campus and the district. Mrs. Nutt's dedication, expertise, and ability to foster meaningful relationships make her a truly deserving recipient of Starline's Teacher of the Year award. Our next school, Thunderbolt Middle School, is excited to announce 7th grade English teacher, Mrs. Christina Bonsang, as their Teacher of the Year. Mrs. Bonsang excels in working with teens and preteens, recognizing that a middle school teacher is not only an educator, but also a mentor to both students and their families as they navigate the many trials and tribulations of adolescence. She bases her instructional decisions on understanding each student's unique needs and perspectives, using this insight to become their greatest supporter. She believes that inspiring young adults begins by earning their trust and respect before fostering higher-level thinking. Mrs. Bonsang quickly individualizes support for her special education students and any student needing extra help or a challenge to reach their potential. As both an honors and general education teacher, she adapts her strategies to fit students' learning styles and promote critical thinking. Outside the classroom, Mrs. Bonsang collaborates with her team and department chair to streamline planning and feedback. She sponsors many extracurricular activities and offers professional development to staff and families as a love and logic trainer. Above all, her passion for education drives her to make decisions that positively impact her students, their families, and the entire school community. Thank you, Mrs. Bonsang. Where'd she go? While we are incredibly proud of all of those who have been recognized tonight, we do select a District Teacher of the Year to represent us at the state level. This year's winner was selected by a committee of previous winners in a blind screening of candidate qualifications. Our recipient will receive a staycation gift package inclusive of a weekend stay at the London Bridge Resort, watercraft rentals, spa treatments, a night out for dinner and the movies, and much more. This recipient will also have a dish at Mudshark named in their honor. This year, the committee, by unanimous decision, did select Mrs. Rachel Nutt from Starline Elementary. I know Mrs. Nutt and her beautiful family will greatly enjoy their staycation. Congratulations, Mrs. Nutt. And we will now welcome Mayor Sheehy to the podium with a proclamation for Mrs. Nutt, followed by a brief pause in our meeting to allow for pictures.
Hi there. Congratulations. Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity, President Rose, Vice President Houston, Member Rahman, and Member Tinsley, members of our community, faculty, staff, administrators for Lake Havasu Unified School District. It's an honor to be here to help celebrate you and all of the honorees. You know, great schools make great communities. Lake Havasu City is a great community because of the work that is done in these walls. And we appreciate you educating our youngest minds to grow and prosper within our beautiful community. And I am so grateful that I get to be a part of this. But it's your time right now, and we're going to honor you. I wish we could have done it a little bit earlier so you could have celebrated the whole day, because today's your day. We're actually proclaiming it as the Lake Havasu Unified School District Teacher of the Year Day, March 13th, 2025. Whereas today, we proudly recognize and celebrate Rachel Nutt as the Lake Havasu Unified School District's Teacher of the Year for 2025. Over the past 13 years as a kindergarten teacher in the district, Rachel has touched the lives of hundreds of students, making a lasting impact on our community's future. And whereas Rachel is a nationally board-certified teacher and serves as a mentor teacher at Starline Elementary, her colleagues, administrators, and parents alike commend her unwavering commitment to the academic and social development of her students achieved through strong relationships, both in the classroom and at community events. And whereas Rachel embodies the ideals of an exceptional educator and consistently goes above and beyond in her professional role, she is the cornerstone of the district's professional learning community as a grade-level lead teacher, mentor for new educators, and coach to those pursuing the National Board Certification. And whereas Rachel creates an inclusive and welcoming classroom environment where students of all backgrounds and abilities are supported, her thoughtful instructional planning addresses various learning styles, ensuring that every child has the opportunity to build a love for learning. And whereas, on behalf of Lake Havasu City, I express my sincere appreciation to Mrs. Nutt for her unwavering dedication and service to the children of this community. Now, therefore, I, Cal Sheehy, the Mayor of Lake Havasu City, Arizona, do hereby proclaim Thursday, March 13th, 2025, as Lake Havasu Unified School District Teacher of the Year Day, Rachel Nutt, in Lake Havasu City. And I urge all citizens to join me in congratulating Rachel Nutt on this outstanding achievement with the Lake Havasu Unified School District and Lake Havasu City. Congratulations.
Let me give you a hand.
All right, at this time, we are going to give a couple minutes. If you would like to dismiss and not stay for the rest of the meeting, we want to give you a few minutes to be able to do that before we continue on. Thank you.
Mrs. Nutt, you're my hero!
All right, we're going to continue now. Now moving on to item 2.3, please welcome Lake Havasu City Education Association, Carol Nowakowski.
All right. Good evening, President Rose, members of the board, Dr. Skinner, and everybody that's here. It's wonderful. Congratulations to each one of our TOIs, and extra congratulations to Rachel Nutt, and our Rookie of the Year and Staff of the Year. Welcome, Dr. Skinner, and to Havasu, and our recently winter storm. For some of us, that it's cold outside. We have a great community, as you can tell, and a staff that's very dedicated to serving our students. We hope you were able to see this in your visits on campus today. Back up here. We are going to continue to watch those bills that I shared with you last month. They have crossed over, and so we will just continue to watch them in the new committees, and then once they hit committee of the whole. And I will keep you abreast of all of that. And then the recent changes at the U.S. Department of Ed, we're going to continue to watch that. We're a rural community, we're a rural district, and federal funds impact us. And so as things change there, things could change here. And that is our biggest concern. And so we'll just keep our eyes on everything as we always do. All right, thank you.
All right, now moving on to item 3.1, the call to the public. You will have 3 minutes, and I just want to inform everyone tonight, I know that there are some policies on tonight's agenda, and the board is going to be discussing those. This is a first read, so we will not be voting these policies in tonight. We will be discussing them, and then we're actually going to be getting with administrators in our schools, our coaches, staff to see how we can make sure that we're not negatively affecting day-to-day business. We're not affecting our athletic teams, disrupting the things currently happening, and that it's all smooth sailing from there. So, and get feedback, and then we will come back in next month's board meeting, moving on to a second reading if they do pass this evening. So at this time, call to the public.
Tiana Kraft.
So when she calls your name, you'll come to the mic and you will have 3 minutes. Thank you.
I don't know how I ended up first up here, but I would just like to welcome Ms. Skinner into the district, and I hope that you receive a warm welcome. And I would just like to ask that we all try to harmoniously work together on and amongst our board members and represent Lake Havasu School District well. And we have elected 3 new board members in our community, and I just hope that we can incorporate some of the changes that the voters of our community have wanted to put into place, and we are here to support you, and welcome to our community, and thank you very much.
Laura Waffle? Fidel? Yep. Fidel.
Hi, welcome. I know you're a good choice. I just know because I know you were highly vetted, so that makes me very happy. And you wore appropriate clothing. You're like the only one in the room. Oh, there's a lady in purple back there. Yeah, I wore my purple boots. I just want to say thank you for doing the jobs that we elected you to do. Thank you for doing and following through on what you campaigned on. And I think it's excellent, and I can't wait to see what else is to come. And yeah, you have a lot to do, and I appreciate that. And so do all of my friends who voted for you, and all of my non-friends who voted for you too, all across the board, both sides, everything. So, and I just want to thank everyone for coming. This is a great event, great school board meeting, and I'm sure you're all gonna get a lot done now and continuing on, and thank you for working together. So.
Lisa Priester.
I'm going to preface my remarks by letting David know that I do have some critical comments, and all the statements I made are from publicly available information. It's ironic that the MAGA school board members are railing against, quote, DEI, end quote. They got their roles not by merit, but through identity politics. Despite claiming to be transparent, they have worked in secret and precluded public participation in policy and hiring decisions. Their deeds and actions undermine their own effectiveness and credibility. The MAGA board members are proud to be endorsed by a political hate group intent on destroying public education. Now they are trying to embed their MAGA ideology into school board policy, including a prohibition of, quote, gender ideology, end quote, whatever that is. These new policies' true intent, in my opinion, is to single out and punish children or staff who have identities of which the MAGA school board members do not approve. This is in order to curry favor with MAGA leadership. I believe that David is using his position on the school board primarily to seek higher office in the Republican Party rather than to improve educational outcomes. The MAGA members have no experience, education, or qualifications for running a governance board, nor in pedagogy, nor in school administration. And no, being a parent doesn't qualify you any more than having a broken leg makes you an orthopedic surgeon. What they do have is the audacity to imply that the U.S. operates as a meritocracy. Clearly, that is not the case with the MAGA board members themselves is proof. I believe all 3 MAGA members should be recalled, given their words and deeds to date. They do not seem to know how to manage governance. And David is a felon who didn't even graduate from high school. And when he was in prison, he didn't bother getting his GED. Here's a quote from one parent who helped, running out of time. So a parent in the district Ms. Skinner came from said, the lesson is culture warriors don't make good board members. We need business people, people that are well educated, that know how to run a school district and aren't here just to fight for things like banning books. Thank you.
Rajat Sahari.
Good evening and welcome, Dr. Skinner. What I'm about to say really has nothing to do with your selection, but I would just like to talk about the process of selecting the superintendent. I'm here to voice my concern about the way that the selection process had occurred. Since my kids have been students in the district, we've had 3 superintendents. The previous boards have honored the requests of the community to keep all administrator positions open and transparent during the hiring process. There had been a review committee where candidate backgrounds could be reviewed and judged solely on merit and achievement. This narrowed the interviews to 2 candidates who were then interviewed by members of the board, staff, parents, and community members. It does not foster trust and transparency when a formal announcement about the superintendent was written and shared on the school district website and on social media prior to the executive session and hiring and contract signed occurred. Although I know that Dr. Skinner has had a great deal of experience, I question relocating from Oregon to Lake Havasu City for an interim and not a permanent position. Further, if this is truly an interim position, I question why we could not have used an internal administrator who is familiar with the district and saved our taxpayer dollars that way. Thank you.
Deborah Fedak. F-E-D-A-K, Fedak. Did I say that right?
Fedak.
Fedak.
Yep. I pretty much covered anything. Hi, my name is Debbie Fedak. Excuse me. I just want to thank all the board members, all 4 of you, for having the best interest of our community and our schools and our student. And I appreciate the fact that you hired someone who was vetted and well recommended for our community. So thank you very much.
Jody Segasser.
Superintendent Skinner, President Rose. I just want to speak tonight in support of you and the board for taking swift action on some of the agenda items that you'll be talking about tonight. These are of local importance to the school board, to the school district, the parents, and the teachers. And the fact that you're willing to hear from the public, the teachers, and the parents just shows that you're committed to an open and transparent process. Once these actions are determined and you put policies in place, I believe it'll serve the students to thrive in a positive environment. These are our future leaders, and that's ultimately our goal, is to make sure that we have future leaders who can thrive in a safe, open, and caring environment. So I just want to commend you for taking on these actions and hearing input from everybody. That's all. Thank you.
Robert Fisher.
My name's Robert Fisher. I don't have children in the school here locally, but I do have 10 grandchildren, so I'm concerned about public education overall, and I'd like to express my appreciation for the school board and what they're doing to improve the education here in Lake Havasu. I'd like to offer an opinion, though. One of the things that's coming up shortly is an event down at the London Bridge where our Constitution will be exhibited in some large format display. Those documents are written in cursive, and unless the students can write and read in cursive, they won't be able to read our founding documents. And history is a pretty good thing for them to know how we got where we are and what it means. So I would encourage Professor Skinner to be sure that our children here in this town can learn to read and write with cursive. And thank you very much.
So first off, David, I want to thank you. I appreciate what you guys are doing. Even the members that I didn't actually vote for, I still appreciate the work you guys are doing together. That being said, we moved from California a few years back. I have young kids in this school district. It's been an issue for me. We moved from the state we were in because of the school district and DEI policies. We also have an issue with the fact that when we do have people saying that parents are not the best opportunity for school board members, that is 100% false. You are the best possible ones because you know what it's like to raise children. I'm raising kids, it's not an easy job. You guys are doing this. I apologize for all of the garbage you guys get all the time. I know it's a lot. However, this is what you were called to do, and you're doing a great job. Even the people I disagree with, you're doing a fantastic job, and I appreciate that. As far as the DEI, I'm sorry, we didn't vote for that. That's why we voted you guys in. The country didn't vote for that. That's why President Trump is in. And it's MAGA. That doesn't work. It's MAGA. And not all of us are MAGA. I'm not. I'm a Christian. And I got kids at home that look up to me, look up to my church, and look up to their teachers. And I got a great one sitting right back here. Miss Rockwell is one of the best teachers I've ever seen. And I'll tell you right now, politics needs to stay the hell out of school, period. Because these kids need to learn ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, and economics, not politics. If they want to learn politics, we'll teach them. That'll be fine. We'll do that as parents. Thank you.
Chris Gallego?
I didn't know you knew my name.
I work with you every day.
Dr. Skinner, President Rose, Board, Community, thank you. I have a 7,000 or 8,000 word essay I'd like to read to you. I don't know if I can get it done in 3 minutes. Food service, along with many other support staff groups, we interact with about, or we have about 3,500 interactions a day with students. They're raucous, rapid, intense. Kids are getting out of intense learning and they de-stress and they make a lot of noise and they joke around and they play, and we try to play with them. We try to meet our students one-on-one as our customers. And I encourage my staff to avoid patronizing them or talking down to them, and to treat them as full individuals of our society. So if a student says to a staff member, if a staff member says to a student, "Excuse me, sir," and the student says, I go by they, them, my staff don't have the time or the capacity or really the appropriate station to challenge that. They're supposed to serve their customers and address them in the way that they prefer to be addressed. We just don't have that mindset. A manager recently told me that a group of girls were chiding a young student, male, that he was cutting in line. And they said, "Ladies first." And he said, "I'm a lady." And my manager said, "Are you really?" My concern is that that is now a conversation, according to this. And my people mean well. We work very hard to get 3,500 meals served every day across the district in 10 or 20-minute increments. They don't have time to even remember a lot of this, let alone find an administrator, report it, make sure a parent is notified. So I worry about that language. I understand the intent, and I think the intent is good to protect our children, our students. These same challenges may extend to maintenance, groundskeepers, FSPs, janitors, lunchroom aides, and others who have these quick, short interactions with students. And we're not, wow, guess 7,000.
Karen Murphy Linden.
Who's on deck? Who's out there? Karen. You're on deck.
I'm on deck.
Really?
I just want to say welcome to Dr. Skinner and thank you for your willingness to come and serve us for a few months while we need you. I also would like to thank our board for their efforts to focus on getting our kids in this community educated and able to cope with the real world. I saw a post on Facebook yesterday. It was the world's most intelligent family, and it was a black family, and they were the smartest. The kids had graduated high school at 9 years old. Some of the things that our public school system has pushed lately has discouraged people from achieving their best selves, the best that God made them for, and has taught them that they can't do it because somehow they can't measure up unless somebody help or gives them more of a hand than other people get. And I think everybody has a God-given potential, and I don't think that DEI accomplishes that. The intention may be good, but in practice, it's discriminatory and discourages excellence. The other policies that are coming out about not grooming, we don't need inappropriate conversations initiated by adults. I mean, obviously, if you're a teacher or a counselor or someone the kid trusts, they might come to you with a question, and you should answer to the best you can or find the right resources. But those conversations should not be initiated by teachers or administrators or coaches. And God help us, our girls deserve to be safe in their spaces. I feel for it because, for those that this is a genuine issue of feeling like they don't belong in the body they were given, that's got to be tough. But when you open the door to mixing the genders in the same spaces, you open the door to fraud. So it's not wanting to harm or offend someone who truly has an issue. It's protecting girls and boys from those who would take advantage of the situation. And unfortunately, we're human, and we do. People will take advantage.
We have one more. Sunny Raleigh?
The last?
Yes, sir.
Start over. I haven't started yet. There's been a lot of comments in here, and of course, people want to talk about the politics and make America great again. It was actually, I remember that phrase coming out of Bill Clinton. So I'm going to quote something from someone from the Obama administration who was an advisor for President Obama, Rahm Emanuel. He's perplexed. Some kids in the classroom are debating which pronouns apply, and the rest of the class doesn't know what a pronoun is. That's a crisis, quote unquote. We started off this meeting recognizing people for their individual achievements. What these teachers have done, we praise. I praised this district when I was in the state senate. I fought against the Teachers Association and the Red for Ed people when they wanted us to vote no on a budget for a 20% pay raise. They wanted us to vote no on putting more money into the classroom site fund. These are things we fought for you in Phoenix. And we talk about merit. I moved here, I retired from the Marine Corps in 1999 and moved here in 2000. I remember taking a part-time job at the London Bridge Resort, and I met a young lady, a mom, single mom, who literally worked and put herself through college, got herself a degree, and is a principal in in the elementary school. I won't say her name because I don't want to embarrass her, but that's individual achievement. That's merit. That's merit. Trying to have, when we have teachers, because of curriculum coming down from someplace else, dictating how a teacher is supposed to tell a kid and indoctrinate him into a certain way that goes against even their own core principles. That's a family issue. Schools need to stay out of that. Far too long, parents were being undermined by the system. And now that you guys are all, got guys and gals, now that you're here as a school board, newly elected, and Dr. Skinner, welcome to Arizona. We are different weather here than Texas. If you don't like the weather in Texas, wait 10 minutes, it changes. But here's, I'm going to leave it off with one Texas joke. You can always tell a Texan, you just can't tell them much. I can say that because I lived 5 years in Texas, so welcome to Arizona. Welcome to Lake Havasu City. Number one, let me guess what? We outperform the schools in Phoenix by far on funding, by teacher pay, and curriculum and academic achievement. And I salute you all. Thank you very much.
All right, moving on to the consent agenda, item 4.1, we need a vote. A motion for a vote.
I move to approve consent agenda.
I'll second. Evelyn Tinsley?
Yes.
Lisa Ramon?
Yes.
Matthew Houston?
Yes.
David Rose?
Yes. All right, there's no discussion items this evening. We're moving to 6.1, first reading of a new grooming policy. The governing board proposes the following policy. No grooming policy establishes clear guidelines to prevent inappropriate interactions between students and adults, ensuring a safe and separate learning environment free from exploitation. I will now open it up for discussion to the board.
Yes, first off, it is critical to have these types of policies, especially in the culture. As a prosecutor, there's far too many sex cases that come across. Where the children are is where the predators will be. This is something that is known, and the very first thing that a predator will do is typically start a conversation. So having these policies in place is incredibly important. And Ms. Skinner, as going forward, I'd like to see a plan for training and awareness and just a report on what training we have in the district for these topics. Chris, thank you for bringing that up. That is a great point. How do you deal with it when a student is bringing it forward? I do think that we need to tailor this a little bit more precisely for that nuance. How that individual responds, I think that's something we can discuss before the second reading. But I'm glad we are putting our foot forward and getting this policy in place and moving in this direction.
I did print out, so we have some existing policy on appropriate staff-student boundaries. I printed out a copy for all of my fellow board members. If you would like a copy, I didn't print out enough for everyone. But you can always take a picture of this, or you can look it up on your phone. You would go to lhusd.org, and then it's policy 4-202. I am not going to read all of this, but I will hit some of the highlights and just to reiterate, this is already policy that we have in place. So this governs how a teacher or any staff member would interact with a student. So these are all the behaviors that you are not allowed to engage in. No flirtatious communication, no banter, jokes, or innuendos of a sexual nature, no confiding in a student, and that is except in the case of counselors. Counselors have a protected relationship with students that that requires trust and confidentiality. That part's I'm not paraphrasing. I'm ad-libbing on that. That is not spelled out in policy. It does say except in case of counselors, but I ad-libbed my own comments. There's no socializing with a student outside of school. You're not supposed to give or receive personal gifts. You're not supposed to ask students to keep a secret. You're not supposed to engage in peer-like language or behavior. You're not supposed to have private contact. You're not supposed to be alone with a student behind a closed door or in a confined space. No physical contact. You're not supposed to send students on personal errands. You're not supposed to provide tobacco, alcohol, or drugs. I feel like, that one. Hopefully that's not happening ever anyway. You're not supposed to transport a student in your private vehicle unless you have approval from the administration. Not supposed to share a room with a student on an overnight trip. You're not allowed to go to students' homes or, or have them come to your home unless you have permission from the student's parent and from your own supervisor. You're not supposed to share photos or ask students to share photos with you. No special privileges with students, and no pet names or terms of endearment. So it does spell out specific behaviors that we do not want our students to engage in. And I will say the end from the beginning. I agree with almost everything in this policy. I do not want our children to be at risk for inappropriate contact with students. I don't want our staff to be at risk for accusations. It's better to just avoid even the appearance of wrongdoing in that regard. The only part that gives me pause is the sentence where it says, it's strictly prohibited for any school district employee, volunteer, or contractor to have any conversation with a student about their sexuality or gender ideology. And so that's one thing that I would like to clarify prior to the next meeting. So we heard an example from one of our food service providers. If a student makes a remark like, I prefer to go by they, them, or even if they're exchanging just like a basic biographical fact about themselves, like, I'm gay, or something like that, does that then become a sexual conversation where then our staff member has to, like it's a mandatory report situation where the staff member has to shut the conversation down and report it to the parents? So I would like to hear my colleagues' thoughts on that part of it.
Yeah, and I agree with you that this is where we need to get this more refined. And I tend to say there's positions who do need to nip it in the bud, teachers, administrators, who have a more hands-on personal relationship with the students, whereas cooks can say, that's nice, what would you like? Where it's not really, they don't engage. Now, if it's something, like you said, they're being bullied, I would recommend that we have, you don't need to address it right there, but hey, let a recommendation know to the staff, this individual we saw was getting bullied for their ideology. That's something that can become a further problem. So I would like there to be some way that they have a channel for communication, but I don't want to make this a police state where every single individual is reporting on every single thing. Kids are kids. They're going to talk about this stuff regardless of what policies are in place. And so we need to protect our staff from being in those sticky situations. So I think in the next month, as we get to the second reading, we need to terse that out, maybe have an executive session on this, get this brass tacks, or a community session where we can get teachers and administrators to kind of piece this out.
Yeah, and the point of this policy isn't to handicap our teachers and our staff. We want you to have healthy relationships with your students. You're with them a good part of the day, and you are influencing them, and some of you become mentors to them. So we're not trying to handicap you. We're simply trying to protect them. And so, yes, no, I agree. We need to work on that language. The other change I would like to add in and having conversations with teachers is in part two, just making sure that teachers understand where we had talked about not being alone with a student. And we want to add language where if you're tutoring a student, as a teacher, as long as your door's open, those things, we want you to be able to continue to be able to do that and not interrupt education. That is the number one goal of this district, is to educate our students. And so we want you to be able to continue in that. And so I feel we need to change some of that language as well.
Hey, I'm really glad you brought that up, Matt, to be able to reach out to more of the staff, like Chris. I'm totally thankful that you did bring that up, because that does open up other, conversations. So you took that from me there. So let's do this.
Well, I guess at this point I would move this to second reading.
We can't, oh, sorry. So just so that we can end with a little bit of clarity on this,
Mhm.
would you consider a student making a statement about themselves where they initiate it, a teacher
Mhm.
isn't asking them, but a student making a statement about themselves like, I'm straight or I'm gay, there's no like distress attached to it, they're just
Yeah.
saying
Yeah.
something. Would you consider that a sexual conversation that needs to be addressed by this policy?
I think there's context between the individual it's stated to and, right, so if it's a teacher, where did that conversation originate from? I see a student walking up to a teacher just declaring, hey, I'm gay. Okay, why is this important to you to tell me? I mean, it does seem that relationship versus in the cooking line or the food line. Hey, I'm gay. All right, chicken nuggets or pizza. You know, and I think
Right.
there is a difference there, and I do think there is a higher level of scrutiny to our teachers and administrative staff and staff that are directly engaging with our students at a more personal level versus support staff, janitorial staff, bus driver, things like that. I think in general, it probably doesn't rise to the level of that, but I don't want to say absolutely not.
And does it make a difference to you if the statement is, I'm gay versus I'm straight?
Doesn't matter.
Either one, like if a student came up and
If a
said, I'm
student is making
straight, it requires a phone call home or might require a
Or
phone call home?
it depends on it. Is that student trying to engage that teacher in relationship? Hey, Mrs. So-and-so, I'm straight, just so you know.
Mhm.
Whoa, boundary needs to go up.
Okay.
So there, I think it's very context dependent. I think this policy needs to empower our teachers to make that, all of the teachers that are in our district are well-educated, are smart and intelligent people. I don't want policies that kind of limit their discretion, but I do want policies to protect them and students.
Yeah, and I think maybe we can add language that gives the teacher the opportunity to know when that needs to be reported.
And this language is very strict, so I think we need to roll back the language more to a discretionary stance where, hey, if you choose as the teacher that this doesn't rise to that level, you are taking that into your ballpark to get in trouble. Whereas you say, if I just report this up, I'm always covered. A teacher is always covered if they report. If you decide in your discretion that you're not going to report and it becomes something, that's a problem.
And I can see very similar to the cafeteria. You know, a student walks into a classroom, hey, I'm gay. All right, well, go sit down and get your homework out. You know, so
Exactly.
we got to use wisdom. We don't want to handicap our teachers. The last thing we want is for our teachers to constantly be reporting and not be teaching. So we need you to be able to do your job and not feel that we are making you now another mandatory reporter in other areas that is distracting you from doing your job. And so we need to use wisdom in that language.
And the principle I bring into this is small unit leadership. In the Marine Corps, when you're on the battlefield, you have 5 guys. If your leader gets taken down, the next guy in charge steps up. That's small unit leadership. Each person in the unit is responsible for the person above and below their task and to know what needs to be done. And that comes with discretion. Our teachers are excellent professionals. They're intelligent. And I think that if we empower them with the discretion to make those choices, they'll make the right choices. And obviously, that's caveated with this policy. If you make the wrong choices, there will be consequences. So yeah, going forward, I think we need to terse that out, bring that language back to discretionary, and create a reporting system. Does that
Yes.
alleviate? Okay.
I feel like that's a good stopping point.
Okay.
And kind of gives me a little bit more.
Okay. Well, and I do
Yep.
think we should set up either exec session or
work session.
Work session.
I think a work session
Okay.
would be great.
Does the reporting mean like just tell the administrator or designated? I see this here. Do you have to write it out or do you just tell them?
I'd say verbal report is probably
Just
sufficient.
verbal report.
Yeah.
Now, as the administrator, you would probably want a written statement so that it's on a file so that we have some sort of tracking system. But
Yeah.
we'll probably put that work on the administrator rather than the teacher or the person reporting. If you're the administrator, make a report so that we have a tracking system of what's going on. So yeah, so I guess after this conversation, I move this to second reading.
I second.
Evelyn Tinsley?
Yes.
Lisa Ramon?
Yes.
Matthew Houston?
Yes.
David Rose?
Yes. All right, item 6.2, first reading of no DEI policy. The governing board proposes the following policy. No DEI policy prohibits diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, ensuring that educational success is based solely on merit, academic performance, and individual effort. We have received part of what has opened up opportunity for this policy is the Dear Colleague letter that has come from the Department of Education, giving us 14 days to make sure there is absolutely no DEI in our school system. And if there is, we lose public funding. So I need you to understand this isn't, for me, we care about all people. And we want children to learn. We want to equip students to be the best individual that they can be. And it's not a one-size-fits-all for students, whether it be their race or whatever. If our special ed students, we want to equip every student in this district to be a scholar, to be the best that they can be and not be handicapped or told, oh, because you're this or you're that, we're going to have to lower educational standards. That doesn't work. And the last thing we want is we've seen DEI can create victims and victimizers, and we just can't stand by it. The biggest thing is losing federal funding. This is not just a federal mandate. These are mandates that are also going to be coming down from the state of Arizona that this district is going to have to follow, and currently now has to follow to continue federal funding. So I'm going to now open it up for discussion with the board.
So there's a few different things that came up when I was talking to some teachers and some parents. Special education teachers wondering if they can still provide accommodations framed around equality, and are IEPs affected?
No, that's a great question. This does not affect our special ed department. We're still going to be able to provide, and I'm not sure if our special ed coordinator is in the room, if she would actually like to speak to this. Sure. Awesome, thank you. Please welcome Ellie Nudeman.
Here's the hot seat.
Okay, cool. So in reading through the policy, it does not affect special education in any manner as far as the way IEPs are written, 504s are written, implementation of accommodations and supports for students. It is not taking away any of the rights that are guaranteed by IDEA, ADA, or Section 504. Those are still fully implemented and designed to support our students. Does that answer kind of?
Yes, it does.
Yes. Another one was clubs. A couple of parents hit me up about that, and they were unsure if those were going to be affected as well, because some of the same verbiage was kind of in the club language, I guess.
Okay. Thank you for bringing that up. We are actually going to be removing clubs from this policy. Here's the thing. This is based on what we're teaching in the classroom. The last thing this board will ever do is infringe on a student's rights and their freedom. You have the freedom of speech. You have the freedom to believe what you want to believe. I'm very well aware that at our high school we have an LGBTQ club, and that club is going to be able to continue on like they always have, and they will be supported. They will not be stopped from doing what they're doing. They have the right to gather, and this board will not prevent that. So that part of this policy will be taken out.
Yeah, and I would just say, as long as we're not providing monetary funds to that organization.
And we do not.
The students have the right to assemble it. You have the right to believe what you want. Us stepping on that, even if it's something I don't agree with, I believe that you have the right to assemble with people that you view as like-minded to discuss topics you want to. As long as our funding is not going to that, you have that right. And I will support you in that right, regardless of the topic. So we had discussed, and I do believe striking that is appropriate. Besides that, I spent roughly the last about 10 years in higher ed as a student, in law and in communications classes, and it is nefarious how far this DEI stuff has gotten into our schools, into our logic, into our reasoning. Many of the students coming out of the Marine Corps and going into college and seeing how these kids think, what they think based on critical race theory, DEI, is astounding. And so it is something that I definitely want to nip in the bud in this district and will not be supporting in any way, shape, or form. So I'm glad this policy is going through. Do need a couple modifications, but I think we can terse that out.
I think teachers recently were, how do you say it? They were not clear on the guidelines in general, and they're questioning themselves to where they may fear that they're overstepping, or they end up avoiding support programs just to be safe. Are we going to be having training sessions or whatnot, so that way we can make sure that we're both on the same level.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah,
Anytime you implement anything new, you should have it trained. So Ms. Skinner is, we're doing these, I'd hope you'd be thinking, okay, how do I implement this and what training can I do? And if you could present what training you're going to be pushing forward to us, I'd greatly appreciate that.
And I can, just so everyone in this room is aware, when this Dear Colleague letter came from the Department of Education, it was sent to our administrators, and there was no DEI reported back to the superintendent or to the board. So thank you to our administrators for your willingness to work on the recommendation, or I'm sorry, on the mandate coming from the Department of Education to keep our district in compliance. I commend you for that.
So I believe all of our clubs are self-funded, and there might be someone who can fact check me on that, but I believe,
Okay.
to
Yeah,
my
I believe
knowledge,
so.
every
Yes.
single club is self-funded. So you're talking about taking out clubs. Are you taking out the entirety of item 4, or is it just?
I'd probably strike the whole thing,
Okay,
yes.
so if you don't have the paper in front of you, item 4 is student programs and activities, okay? Okay, so I really don't have a problem with items 2, 3, 5, or 6. The one thing that stands out to me is curricular content with diversity. And so we do have textbooks that, I wouldn't call them DEI textbooks. I mean, they were stakeholder approved. They were actually unanimously recommended by a committee from diverse, to use that word, a diversity of opinion in our community. But that textbook does draw from authors of different backgrounds. So
yeah.
you have different races, different
Yeah.
religions, all those different
Absolutely.
backgrounds. Would that fall under DEI?
Again, we need to review what it's saying, but DEI is the idea that you are specifically targeting individuals to be brought up based on their inferiority. It's the critical race theory that has essentially said that minority groups are unable to rise themselves up in our culture, and they must be given handouts and helped to rise up to normal status. That is what we are targeting. We are having a diverse community of understanding and bringing in different ideas and views. That's the American melting pot. But what is not, and what is DEI, is saying that we need to be pushing the idea of outcome, equality of outcome, rather than the merit-based, who's doing the best. So that is really what this is. And I don't think a textbook that has diverse perspective is what this is.
No, it's not. And we want our students to learn diverse perspectives. That is important. In one of our classical academy, they're learning all kinds of diverse perspectives and history. And it's super important, and our Oral Grande staff does an incredible job with that. It simply comes down to, we are not going to begin to take students and say, you belong in this people group, and you belong in this people group, and you belong in this people group, and that's how we are going to identify you. They are individual students, and we are going to identify our students based on merit, based on character, based on their personal identity, and not the color of their skin or what nation they're from. They are a student in Lake Havasu Unified School District, and we are proud to have them, and we want them to be the best that they can absolutely be, and we're going to equip them to do that. So we don't care what sexuality they are. None of that matters. We are glad to have them in this district. We are thankful to have the opportunity to teach your students, and we're going to make sure that they succeed based on merit and not anything else, not political identity, nothing. And so we're very thankful for that. Thank you.
Okay. And then just one more piece of, I guess, maybe a suggestion for our next session when we talk about this. So if there are items that you would like, I'm having the same problem, by the way.
I think
If there
everybody's-
are items that you want to discuss, I think that Leo Biasucci last month gave us a really good framework for how to tackle a big topic. So if you weren't here at the last meeting, we talked about ultra-processed foods. And instead of just proposing something that said you shouldn't allow ultra-processed foods, which I feel like we would still be here in that same meeting discussing the definition.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Get corn syrup out.
Yeah, instead of doing that, he listed out, I think it was 11 or 12 ingredients that he was specifically looking for. And so we got to discuss those ingredients. If we had disagreement, which we really didn't, we could have focused it and pinpointed what is it exactly that we don't agree about. And it was a way of giving really clear guidelines to our food service team. And so if there are things, I guess instead of just saying like, we want to ban DEI, I would rather have a list of, I don't like such and such book, or I don't like such and such program, and then we can talk about the merits of that program or book or, material or whatever it is, and pinpoint where exactly our disagreement lies instead of having sort of quibbling over words.
Okay, and I can see that being useful in some, again, it is a very large, broad topic, so to be able to narrow down exactly what it is, I can see we probably need to define what we mean by DEI better, and I think with a better DEI definition, that will give the guideline a little bit more impact and provide a little bit more focus for teachers and administrators and staff to understand what we mean by DEI. So I'm definitely fine with narrowing down a definition. I don't know if pinpointing exactly what is, again, the district said there's no DEI here. In large part, this is in compliance with your colleague's letter and getting ahead of the ball.
Well,
So-
and state law, there is also state law coming down that is it's going to be a statewide ban as well, just to piggyback off what the federal government is as well doing. So we just want to make sure our district is in compliance and also protect our students from harmful ideologies and make sure that we're equipping them, like I said, to be the best they can be. And that's what we promised. I promised I would do is protect our students, and I'm going to hold to that promise. So, and I'm thankful to be able to work with a board in unity. And we may disagree on some of the language, but we can work through those things because we're here to serve this community. So, all right, I'm ready to close discussion. Now move for a motion to move this to second reading.
I move to have this go to second reading.
Second?
Evelyn Tinsley?
Yes.
Lisa Roman?
Yes.
Matthew Houston?
Yes.
David Rose?
Yes. All right, now moving on to item 6.3, the first reading of new safety in locker rooms, restrooms, and sleeping quarters policy. The governing board proposes the following policy: safety in locker rooms, restrooms, and sleeping quarters clearly defines the use of these facilities to promote privacy, security, consistency for all students. The point of this policy, number one, is to protect our sons and daughters in private spaces, and also to make sure that a student is in the locker room, the restroom, that defines their sexuality of how they were born. And so we're going to open up for discussion for that at this time. There has been some changes, just so you know, that I've added, and of course, as we move on in discussing this, and speaking with some of our coaches, just ensuring this does not apply to our teams when they're playing, especially if they're at a visiting team at another school. And most of the time, the visiting team is put, like if it's our boys' basketball team or football team, they're put in the girls' locker room. So this does not apply to that, just so we're aware this does not apply to if we have any coaches in the room, this does not apply to you. Let's just make sure that the boys stay in with the boys and the girls stay with the girls. So, moving on.
And for me, what I want to narrow down, and again, in good contracting, better definitions provide, they're like good fences. They make good neighbors. Reasonable accommodation, to me, is too vague. A teacher or somebody who's having this request for a restroom, what is a reasonable accommodation?
Yeah.
I want to make sure that we're protecting staff and protecting the employees so that they don't feel that they can get bulldozed just because someone's making a demand, and that might be considered reasonable accommodation. So I'd like to bring this one to that work session, obviously, and to work with staff and see how will this this policy be actually implemented? What are the facilities that we have, the nurse's bathroom, the employee's bathroom? What's the real situation going to be like? So I would like to do some work session on this, but besides, I think that number 2, fairly in agreement.
Yeah, on number 2B, reasonable accommodations may include either of the following, and I've just kind of done some work on this. Use of an employee restroom or changing facility, and we have I've crossed out employee restroom. I believe I did have a teacher that reached out to me, was like, I'm not sure I feel comfortable, and that's totally understandable. Yeah. So we have removed employee restroom language from this policy and then added or nurse's office. I was speaking with Ms. Barney, and she shared with me at the middle school, students in these situations are already using our nurse's office, which is totally fine. So again, we want to come into a work session, meet with especially our physical education teachers, and making sure that we're not making your job harder, and just making sure that we can implement this policy, have the language down to where it's not making a headache for you, and that we can protect our students.
And to have the language where you feel comfortable implementing it and confident that your decisions are not going to be challenged or going to get you in trouble. Yep. That's my goal.
And then on section 1, at the bottom of the paragraph, I did just in myself write up, the district reserves the right to request medical verification to help determine what accommodations may be reasonable. So the last thing we want is a student to just, oh, nope, you have to follow that policy. And so we want to equip our schools to make sure students aren't just trying to waste their time and play games. So.
Yeah, and just, lawyer brain, HIPAA, just maybe give it the lawyer, make sure that we have the ability to request those medical records. It's not some sort of violation. Obviously, if somebody's trying to game the system and it's a parent,
right, we
need to be able to address that. But there's definitely a HIPAA. Yeah. I'd like to talk with our attorney just to make sure that that's kosher.
I think that's a good idea. We might want to walk that back to just a parent verification.
Yeah. And at some level, it has to be, if it's clear that it's being manipulated, we need some way to address that as well.
And I like that, parent verification. So, okay. Any other discussion?
I agree with this policy. One of the people who spoke during the call to the public, I think said it very well when she was talking about how you have sort of competing interests, right? You have the expectation of children that they will go into a locker room or go into a restroom and have their privacy respected. That if they're a girl, there will only be girls in the bathroom. If they're a boy, there will only be boys in the bathroom. So you have that interest, and then on the other side of the equation, you have transgender students. We do not have that many transgender students, but even if we're talking about one person, the goal of our school district is to make sure that every single student feels welcomed and valued and that sense of belonging. And so how do you balance out those competing interests? And I do think that having transgender children use a single stall bathroom, like the staff bathroom, or maybe the bathroom at the nurse's office, is a reasonable solution to that. I do not know what it's like to be transgender, but I know what it's like to need to use the bathroom, and so I feel like that's a way of providing the accommodations.
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. So I move this to I move to have this go to second reading.
A second.
Evelyn Tinsley?
Yes.
Lisa Ramon?
Yes.
Matthew Houston?
Yes.
David Rose?
Yes. All right, item 6.4, Governing Board first reading of updated policy 3-201 facilities. And first reading, facilities will be presented for review, discussion, and possible action. The Governing Board proposes the following language be added to policy 3-201 facilities. Negotiations for sale or lease of any district facility may only be done by the Governing Board or their designee. This policy has been brought forward in discussion with some of our board members. We have great opportunities in partnerships with our city, to do great things as a district moving forward. We just did some great things with our Parks and Recreation Department, and we're super excited about the partnership and the intergovernmental agreement between us and Lake Havasu City on our ball fields. And I believe that we have more of those same opportunities in the future. The district also has vacant land in the community. There has been conversations of a swimming pool. And so these are conversations that our board would like to begin to have and negotiate. And I just want to make sure that it is the board that we are just defining, I believe is the point of this, that we have the final authority on our property, the negotiating power, and that we can also, if we so choose, to assign a designee to handle that for us on our behalf as well, whether it be our attorney or our superintendent or a director. I know that Mr. Murray has been very involved in our facilities because not always is the governing board available to come together to do those things. So we just want to be able to clarify that, and I'll open it up for discussion.
I support this. The only sort of caveat that I would add, if we have negotiations done by a board-approved designee, I would ask that, first of all, that designee is discussed and approved by our board before being named as a designee. Absolutely. And then even after the negotiations take place, it would still be up to our board to approve the final contract.
So maybe a clause of final approval is always vested with the board.
Yes.
Okay. Can we add that into the language, please?
And we'll do a second on this one.
Yeah.
Anything further?
No.
I move to move this to second reading.
I second.
Evelyn Kinson?
Yes.
Lisa Romo?
Yes.
Matthew Houston?
Yes.
David Rose?
Yes. All right, item 6.5, student achievement with LHC for emergency medical services. I'm going to let member Rahman read this because her and I are both super excited about this. And this was actually on our consent agenda. And she reached out to me and asked me if I would remove this so that we can make this a special moment, part of tonight's meeting. And I'm very excited about this. So, Member Rahman.
Yes. So I am excited about this. I'm also excited to see our Fire Chief, Pete Palafis, in the back. Hello. I know he shares enthusiasm for this. So I will read the Memorandum of Understanding. The purpose of this MOU between Lake Havasu Unified School District and Lake Havasu City Fire Department is to enter into a partnership to provide career exposure and exploration in the area of emergency medical services to participating LHHS students. This initiative will encompass 2 instructional courses, Emergency Medical Responder and Emergency Medical Technician Basic. The EMR course prepares students to provide immediate life-saving interventions for patients of all ages awaiting emergency medical services. Areas of study include an introduction to EMS systems, roles and responsibilities of EMR, anatomy and physiology, medical emergencies, trauma, and special considerations for working in the pre-hospital setting. Successful students will receive 2 certification cards, the National Registry for EMR and American Heart Association Basic Life Support. This course will be a prerequisite to advance to EMTB. The EMTB course is designed to provide students with the requirements to be eligible to test for the National Registry EMTB certificate. EMTs provide out-of-hospital emergency medical care and transportation for critical and emergent patients who access the emergency medical care system. EMTs have the basic knowledge and skill to stabilize and safely transport patients. EMTs function as part of a comprehensive EMS response system under medical oversight and perform interventions using the essential equipment found in an ambulance. Using CTE funds, LHUSD will provide $12,000 each semester to Lake Havasu City to be used solely for the Emergency Medical Responder Program, their needs, including but not limited to instructors' wages and benefits, teacher certification fees, DPS fingerprint clearance card attainment, fire station rental, materials, supplies, and equipment. Lake Havasu City Fire Department will provide fire instructors who will follow the career and technical education standards and prepare students for industry credentials as laid out by the Arizona Department of Education. Upon approval of this MOU by all parties, the course will begin in July of 2025. Students will use a classroom at Lake Havasu High School and also have access to off-site fire facilities for lab activities. Approval of the attached MOU allows the Emergency Medical Services Program to continue until May 31st, 2027. Either party may terminate this MOU with 90 days' notice and completion of semester grades for students.
All right.
It has been approved by District Council and City Attorney.
All right, at this time, I'm going to ask our fire chief and our CTE director if they would please come and just take a moment to give some comments in regards to this. And would you please give it up for Mrs. Becker, who's doing an amazing job with CTE.
Thank you, President Rose. Nice to meet you, Dr. Skinner. Members of the board, thank you for giving us a brief opportunity to speak about this program. A few years ago, we started the fire program at Lake Havasu High School with this partnership with the city because we couldn't find teachers. So working with Chief Palafis has been just really, really good for our students, good for our city, and this program will be doing the same. Chief Palafis has a vision. He has a need for the EMTs, and we have the students. We have amazing students that will be able to go out there and get it done. So I'm really thankful for this partnership. Go ahead.
Thank you, President, board members, community. First, I have to say is I have some council members here. Is I still have to get this approved through our council. So I just want to just make sure I appreciate this partnership we have. I'm very confident that we will
you guys to get on that, please.
we will get this approved. Usually we go first, so but that's perfectly fine. Yeah. I can't tell you how important our relationship is with the community. These are going to give high school students the opportunity. We give them for the fireside, but they're going to get credentialed as EMTBs if they're successful, and we want them to be successful because we want them to serve our community. We are finding the career path for them to be homegrown here, employable, productive members of our society and our community. So again, I couldn't do this by myself. I couldn't do this without the support of the mayor, city manager, and all council members, but also Marcia has been excellent with the CTE program. It's a great program, and we have more to come too. So this is just the beginning, so I appreciate the support of the community, so thank you so much.
Absolutely.
All right, moving on to item 6.6.
Start with
Oh,
South
sorry, we got a vote. I'm sorry.
Wait, I'll make a motion
yeah.
to approve 6.6 as presented.
I second.
I'm sorry, wait, 6.5 is presented. I said
Yeah.
the wrong number.
Thank you. I second.
Evelyn Kinson?
Yes.
Lisa Ramon?
Yes.
Matthew Houston?
Yes.
David Rose?
Yes. All right, moving on to 6.6, Human Resources, Employee Benefits. Mrs. Bitterman.
Mr. President, members of the board, I'm going to share our employee benefit package for the 25-26 school year tonight. Just a little background, Lake Havasu Unified School District has been a member of the Northern Arizona Employee Benefit Trust since 2020. The trustees met in February to review the actuarial data at their annual benefit renewal meeting. The results were overwhelmingly positive. The actuary shared this year's book of business plan increases averaged approximately 11%. The trustees were informed that our trust, NIEBT, continues to remain well below the book of business, and the following recommended rates were adopted at that meeting. The annual benefit premiums changed accordingly, a 5.2% increase in the EPO, Exclusive Provider Organization Plan, and a 3.1% increase for the Health Savings Medical Plan. So you can see both of those are well below, less than half that 11%, which is kind of the going increase for the 25-26 plan year. Our dental and vision costs did remain flat. Both plans are available to our employees and their qualified dependents. Tonight it is recommended that LHUSD continue to cover 100% of the employee premiums for the EPO and HSP plans and subsidize our dependent premiums as we have done in the past. If an employee elects our health savings plan, the district will contribute $1,000 to the employee's personal health savings account, provided they establish an HSA account. Our other plan changes for the 25-26 school year include an increase to the deductible of the health savings plan to comply with federal requirements. It was minimal. Right now, that deductible for employee only is $1,600. It is required federally to go up to $1,650. And if you're on the family plan with the HSP, it will go from $3,200 to $3,300. Again, federal mandate. The district paid life insurance. This is pretty exciting. We were able to increase that coverage from $50,000 to $100,000. Unfortunately, in the past school year, we have lost 3 staff members, and it has been very eye-opening working with their staff to see that $50,000, which has been that going rate for decades, just simply doesn't cover really what a family needs to get by during their loss. So this adjustment would result in an average increase to our employees of approximately 70 cents to $2 per month to double their coverage. Our retirees that are grandfathered in on the retiree-only rates, their rates were also relatively stable, and our retiree plan participants can expect to see an approximate increase of $10 to $30 per month dependent upon their plan election. I do have detail of the district and employee contributions attached for your review.
And I join, I think this is an amazing plan. I mean, I work for the county, and I'd rather have this.
We would like you to join us.
One of the things that we've brought as this board is teacher retention. And this is, if you're not looking at the benefits of your employment, benefits are one of the main reasons I'm with the county. So I think keeping this as is, this is wonderful. Thank you for presenting it, but I think this is a great plan to have that extra benefit to our employees. Say, hey, you have coverage here. You have medical coverage here at a minimum cost. Come work for our district. So I think this is fantastic.
I do have a question. Just looking in the future, do you have an estimated idea, if we look in the future, potentially of adding an employee spouse to also be 100% covered, what potentially that cost would be?
So you can see up on the screen here tonight, the employee spouse, the total cost combined is $17,842 on our more affordable plan, the health savings plan. So you can see right now the district is paying $11,490 for the employee and the spouse, leaving the remaining $6,351 for the employee to pick up. So I don't have exact numbers in front of me on how many of our staff have their dependents, but I could run those numbers and bring that back to you.
And even if we could look at 50%
Okay.
coverage for the
So
spouse.
increasing our contribution to that, okay. I can bring that back to our next meeting if you'd like.
Fantastic.
Yes, thank you.
But I'm fine with approving that.
Yeah, I believe we're fine with approving as is, and then we can amend in the next meeting.
Yeah.
So I think our employees would like that. If we could do that for you, all right?
Yeah.
All right.
We need to look at the
And
numbers
we'll
that
look
this
at that,
year.
and we'll get with finance as well.
Yeah, that is a big
so-
chunk, depending on how many people are active. That could be quite a
Yeah.
sum.
So,
So I would move to approve 6-6 as is.
And I'll second it.
Oh.
What a rock, paper, scissors? I'll second that.
Evelyn?
Yes.
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 yes. All right, thank you, Mrs. Bitterman. Moving on to item 6.7, business services, athletic participation fees. Mr. Murray.
Thank you, Mr. President, board members. The governing board will discuss and possibly take action on sports fees for the 2025-26 school year. Just prior to the passage of the voter-approved M&O override in 2016, athletic participation fees were as high as $800 to participate in high school athletic programs. Lake Havasu Unified School District currently charges up to $200 to participate in sports programs at Thunderbolt Middle School and $400 to participate in sports programs at Lake Havasu High School. The participation fee is collected each school year. Sports programs rely on funding sources such as tax credit, gifts and donations, auxiliary, and maintenance and operations to provide athletic opportunities for students. Summaries of revenue, beginning fund balance, and expenditures for fiscal year '24 are attached to the agenda item.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. And these are great numbers. So if I'm reading this correctly, you provided the Lake Havasu High School and Thunderbolt participation. So there was 418 student athletes that participated for a total of $167,200. And Thunderbolt, you had, looks like 79 athletes at $100, 162 athletes at $200, for a total of $40,300, which to me shows that they bring in $207,500 from these fees. Now, when looking at the total, our total budget, that brings, so just looking at the tax credits that we get, that if we lost that, that covers that. So it was $212,012 of tax credits, which completely covers the cost of what our parents are bringing in if we were to short that. Even more so, it looks like we have $741,560 in carryover in our athletic budget as is. So if we subtract the $270,500, that still leaves us over $500,000 in our athletic fund. So, Mr. Murray, how much do we need in carryover to be sure that our athletics the next year are solvent?
So we can see by here, this is the total. So in '24, fiscal year '24, we had $741,000 in expenditures. The fund balance going into '24, we were at $1 million, so $1,048,000. We spent 741. We brought in 428,000. That's tax credit, auxiliary. All of that is based on the fees that you just told us about, $200,000. The participation fees are included in that revenue stream.
Yes.
So the grand total is $735,000 that's remaining. So we started at $1,004,000 and $1,048,000. We are now we ended fiscal year '24 with $735,000. So we actually lost 300,000-ish going from where we started to where we ended '24, and that's including all the revenue that came in. So currently on this trajectory, we're spending more than we're bringing in. So that becomes the big question. So if we continue to spend, let's say we spend $741,000 again this year, then again, that number, that grand total will probably go down to around $500,000, $400,000 to $500,000 at the end of this fiscal year. So we probably have, if we continue, and that's keeping sports fees the same for this year, obviously, because we're almost done. You probably have a couple years. It depends on how far you dial it back. So if you take them completely out, I mean, you may have a year where you can sustain that, but then M&O will be the backfill. And we've talked about that before. M&O is funding athletics right now to the tune of $321,000 in fiscal year '24. So when you reduce participation fees, M&O, the general fund, is going to have to pick up for it. So that becomes the question. And with travel being the variable, we compete in the Phoenix area. Most of our away games, if not all the away games, are in Phoenix. So usually half of the games played are at home, and the other half are on the road to Phoenix. So our situation is kind of unique because we travel a great distance, and our teams generally are pretty good. They do make it into playoffs, and that means as they continue to improve and as they continue to show their skills and the great teams that we do have, how far they go into the playoffs, it's just additional trips down into Phoenix.
Absolutely. And just be blunt, I think we could cut this in half. I mean, sitting on more than $500,000 in a fund when we're asking parents to upfront that cost, $400 a pop for a student in high school. Athletics to me is so important. It changed my life in many ways, the sports that I was able to play. And, there was no sports fee in the high school. The idea that you had to pay to be participating, sure, you had to get your uniform or whatever, but I feel as a district, it is our responsibility to try to get student activity up in sports. So I would like to cut it in half for the next fiscal year, and see where that goes. I'd like to have a report on that, see where our numbers are. If it's not sustainable, we can address it then. But I think cutting this in half and seeing where we are, to me, is a large benefit to the parents and the students in the district.
And I actually have a question for our athletic director, Mr. Zampona, if he could come forward. It's not a hard question. He was like, man, what questions are you going to be asking?
Ask away.
When it comes to recruiting for students in our school, how do you feel the current fees have negatively affected our teams for recruiting students?
If I can be totally honest,
Please.
Oh, Dustin Zampona, hello. If I'm totally honest, I don't think much. If I'm being completely honest, we have scholarship. There's so many ways to have our kids get their fees paid for. I've never denied a scholarship that's ever come to us. The Rotary clubs in our town have been fantastic in helping promote and support the scholarships that we use to help pay. So I have never had somebody come to me and say my kid's not playing because of the fee. And anybody that's come to me and asked for help or support, we've always supported.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Now we'll open it up for board discussion at this time. Member Roman, anything?
I mean, I'm supportive of the idea, especially if it's kind of with the idea that we're doing a trial year
Yeah.
to see how it goes.
I'd be fine with even a half or a single sports season.
Yeah.
You know, football coming up. We cut it in football, see how it affects, how it lays out, get a new report.
I feel like the cleanest way to do it,
Mhm.
if we're going to cut it, is to cut it for all sports for the entire year. And that does help bring things kind of down to earth. Correct me if I'm wrong, so we have a cap of, right now, it's at the high school, a cap of $400 per student, and we have a family cap too, is that right, or not?
No, it's
No
400
family
is,
cap.
yeah,
No family
400 is
cap.
the
Okay.
cap.
Okay.
You can play in as many sports as the season or the year will allow.
Okay. Do we want to add a family cap, or are we okay with the existing system as long as we cut things in half?
I'd be fine with just cutting it half flat without a family cap.
Okay.
If we see that it's not sustainable, we can work that in, but, to me, even if it's wonderful that we are providing scholarships, it seems everyone they have. I'd be interested to see how many people don't bring that up that they can't afford for pride or whatever other reasons. The monetary boundary, to me, it strikes my heart that I think it's something that needs to be reduced. So
I suspect that you're right. I appreciate our community for its willingness to cover sports fees, but there probably are students and families who don't even ask for a scholarship because they don't want to, reveal
for help.
that money is a hardship for them.
Yeah.
So, I am in favor of bringing things down, the cost down to earth, at least for the 25-26 school year, and reevaluating at that time.
So then I would move to cut the fee schedule in half for the 25-26 year.
I second.
Yes.
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 Yes. All right. Moving on to 7.1, remarks from our superintendent. Any closing remarks?
I'm super happy to be here. I was just making a joke. I'm super happy to be here. This is my first board meeting, so I don't have anything to officially put on the agenda, but just thank you again for this opportunity, and I just can't wait to serve in this capacity. So thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right, item 7.2, closing remarks from governing board members.
I'm good.
I don't want I know we just had calendar discussion for 25-26, but I don't want it to get overlooked that we need to also talk about
Yes.
26-27
Yes.
sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and
maybe
we will be working on getting
the committee
survey out as well, and a committee in regards to that. And so we want
Thank you
feedback
very
from
much.
everyone. It will be a much more detailed survey than the previous one that was sent out. And so we will be working to get that out to families, teachers, staff, everyone as soon as possible. So, and then any other remarks? I just want to thank everyone for being here tonight. We may not always agree on things, on policy. We may not always agree on ideas, but we need to respect one another, and I hope moving forward, we can continue that. I've really enjoyed, remember Ramon and myself, people did not think when we were seated that we would be able to work together. And it's been great, building that relationship and just being able to be an example of what you can look like when you lay aside differences and do great things for kids. That's what's important, the children of this district, and we just want to continue to work with everyone. We represent everyone in this room. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. That doesn't matter to me. You're a community member and your voice matters. So thank you for being here tonight, and have a great spring break. And thank you to all our teachers. Again, congratulations to our Teachers of the Year. You deserve it. I motion to adjourn at this time.
I second.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.